DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Intel, and Monster Energy.
The sun is rising over the skies of NA, and that means only one thing: time to get back inside and watch some Counter-Strike. Everything is on the line for this first match, and it is an elimination game, no less. ZPG taking on Triumph in our first match in NA. Christine, we began the morning with some spicy EU action, but now it's time to get into your territory. It's NACS all afternoon long.
It is NACS, and I'm so glad to see we have two NA matches to start off the day today. No longer are we stuck with the two EU first. Bright and early, we get to see NA starting off.
It's all about you guys this afternoon, and I don't think we've seen enough of EU just yet. So we're going to take a quick recap of our bracket to see exactly what has been happening over on the EU side. We're going to be starting off with Group A. I'm excited to see exactly what matches we have for later this week even. Obviously, we just saw Big take the win over Heroic. That means they have cemented their spot in the semi-finals. As we mentioned before the break, that means that Heroic have fallen down into that bottom bracket. They're going to be taking on Endpoint later this week. Maybe a little bit of a surprise, Christine, to see Endpoint besting Mad Lions in that initial elimination match, but maybe not again, because we have seen Innocent come into that squad as the new fifth.
Yeah, exactly. The teething problems, the growing pains, certainly going to need to give Mad Lions just a little bit more time because, as we mentioned, Bubsky had huge shoes to fill. So I think Innocent in his debut certainly did turn some heads, though.
Yeah, moving over into the competition in Group B, obviously Complexity and OG in that winners matchup. That will be coming up tomorrow, I believe. Alex, was that something that you were kind of expecting, looking at this group and looking at the teams that we have in it?
Yeah, Complexity and OG, definitely the two standout teams of this group, and it's no surprise that they're going to be facing off against each other in the winners match. That being said, there were some pretty good fights being put up by Forza and Spirit, so it wasn't just too easy for them to accomplish that task, but that should be a bloodbath between those two teams. They are both very skilled top to bottom, and they have great tactics on top of that.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that Force and Team Spirit matchup as well. That was a spicy CS showdown indeed, and it actually came out in the favor of Force, which we weren't necessarily expecting. But moving over to your territory, Alex, this is where we're going to be starting with our matchups today. Liquid versus Chaos in that upper bracket, falling down into the lower bracket. It's ZPG versus Triumph. Again, expectations, do you feel like they were kind of met with these initial matches?
Yeah, absolutely. Liquid debuting Grim, making quick work of Godz, and Chaos beating Triumph. Chaos is actually the only team in Group A that is working with the same 5-man roster that they've had before this tournament. So you can see that the level of cohesion was very high for them, and they were able to dismantle Triumph. And they actually made Triumph look pretty silly at times.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because we've seen a lot of teams making a lot of big roster moves coming off of this player break, particularly Liquid, obviously dropping Nitro and then having Grim in his place. But also we have got to recap our Group B matchups for NA as well. We won't be seeing these play out today. They will be later this week. But we saw some pretty spicy action yesterday, Potter. Yeah, versus Cloud9. Might not show it on this bracket, but yeah, gave Cloud9 a run for their money.
They did, and they continued that surprise because as you see in the initial match too, they faced off versus Furia, and even that match was jam-packed with action. So certainly, yeah, it's unfortunate that they got eliminated so early on because they absolutely showed us some fantastic Counter-Strike, specifically Dumal, but Cloud9, that should have been a match that they won out, so it's good for them to be able to close that out, even though it took OTs across both of those maps. And as you can see, Team 1, they're going to be facing off versus Furia in that winners match later on as well, and Cloud9 are waiting for the loser of that one.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge one. I'm very excited to see Furia take to the stage once again. But of course, that does leave us with our elimination match for Group A coming into this. And I want to hear what you guys have to say down in Twitch chat. Put hashtag Godz if you're rooting for ZPG, and then put hashtag TRMP if you're looking for these Triumph guys to take the win. And I think with that, we can start to talk about the guys from the ZPG side. And for me, they were a little bit of a question mark coming into this tournament. We see a smorgasbord of North American talent gracing the stage. Alex, what are you making of this roster?
Yeah, as you can even see from the player profile pictures, that none of them are even wearing the same jersey. They've all been on an amalgam of rosters and just so many different lineups. Zelsis wearing the Lazarus jersey, Infinite with Chaos. Cooper, I'm actually not sure what that team is. And then Marky with the E United one. Dazzle with no picture there, although he has played for, I think, Singularity recently. But yeah, it's just such a mix of players, all of which have been touted at one point or another as rising NA talent. But I have to bring up Marky. This guy is the best CSGO player out of Mexico. He, in fact, is the 5th highest earning esports player out of Mexico, just a couple of Mexicans above him. And it's pretty impressive that he's carved his kind of name into this space now, etched his name into the history of Latin American Counter-Strike already, that he's just such a high earner, consistently topping the leaderboards in Rank S and FPL. He was a standout player on the E United roster. It felt like every time you watch this guy in a default, he can just beat anybody. And he was a standout player against so many different teams. I think one in particular was, if I remember correctly, back at ESL Pro League, him and the rest of his team actually took a series, I think, off of MIBR, and Marky just top fragged in it, just bodied them completely. So he had some really good results, and kind of is one of those players that can always just upset an opposing team on his lonesome.
Yeah, maybe an underestimated player going into this, but we are going to hear from one of the players from the ZPG side, and it's going to be Zelsis. Let's take a look.
Well, you know, the first game versus Liquid Vertigo, it looks like we got smashed, but in our eyes, we had a lot of close rounds, and that was like honestly, probably our first time playing it with Dazzle and Infinite, like all together.
Wielding the big green. Zelsis connecting onto Stewie, and through the smoke, he'll take Nav. Now he repositions, he's got a little bit of cover, welcomes the third peak. It's a trio of frags, a quad for Zelsis.
Yeah, I'm very confident in my team. You know, if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be playing, you know. So I think everyone here with this roster, we have some key pieces, and we all want to win, and we all want to put in a lot of time. The more we play, the more we practice, the more progress we'll show.
Ripping through, as here comes the spray and Dazzle for the second
elimination match against Triumph. Obviously, we need to beat them to have a chance going through playoffs. They have 2 new players, Moose and Penny, good players, but I don't think they've been practicing or could be practicing that much as player break and teams aren't screaming and such. So I think they'll be a good matchup for us. I think individually head-to-head we're better, so I think we should take that series. Let's get this game going, DreamHack.
A baptism by fire for ZPG in their first matchup against Liquid. I want to get your thoughts about that match, Alex. We haven't actually touched upon it, but Zelsis is there saying, you know, he didn't feel like it was such a body, as the scoreline might dictate. 16-5, of course, on Vertigo, and then 16-10 to the side of Liquid on Inferno. What did you make of that first game?
I thought that was kind of an interesting one, given that ZPG picked the Vertigo, but it looked like Liquid just ran through him on that. And they showed a little bit more fire on Inferno. Dazzle had a couple of spectacular clutches. Cooper came up big with the op in a couple of rounds, and Zelsis himself had a couple of key important frags. It felt like they just kind of maybe had some nerves at the beginning. They knew they were playing one of the best teams in North America, but once they recognized that, hey, this is online CS, this is where we are comfortable, they played like it.
Yeah, and then moving over to the other side of the server, it's going to be, of course, Triumph. They lost out against Chaos in their first matchup here. Christine, are you making anything of these players in particular? Because obviously they came through the qualifiers for this tournament, so they must have some tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah, you would hope so, right? But we have to remember the qualifiers, and even this team qualified for EPL for the next season as well just recently, but it was with the different players. The big man in Grim, who's now over towards Liquid. So certainly Triumph are already coming into this series on the back foot. You just heard Zelsis talking about it as well. 2 new players in Moose and Penny. Moose, he's an established player. You know, he's been around the block quite a bit. He's made a name for himself in E United. He just left Envy over there on that project. So I have some high hopes for this individual in Moose, but for the entirety of Triumph right now, I do think this is swinging a little bit above their weight limit here, just a little bit, coming versus ZPG.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point we really have to take on board, is that Grim has to be part of the team. Obviously, he's found New Horizons on the side of Liquid, who are also attending this tournament. But Alex, for you, what kind of hole does that leave in the roster? Having Grim leave, what do you think they're going to need to focus on to kind of regain the form that we saw before their first matchup here?
Oh, Grim leaves a huge hole in terms of fragging power. He was just one of the best anchors in North America. It's why Liquid was looking at him. And Curry as well. Penny having to fill the shoes of that side of the equation. And it's not easy. I'd say that in both respects, it's a downgrade. Moose is maybe actually around the same level of Curry, probably actually a little bit better overall, but Penny couldn't really compare him to Curry or Grim for that matter. So at this point, Sheikh Zula and the rest of the Triumph squad, they're going to have to focus on teamwork. They're going to have to focus on using their utility well, having a real game plan. In fact, maybe bringing a little bit of anti-stratting to this matchup, because if you just go pound for pound against EPG, you're going against some players that, despite them not really finding a lot of tier 1 success, you're going against players that are more established than you, players that have a lot more experience and probably a lot more individual skill on any given day.
Well, we're going to see exactly what they make of this matchup after their loss against Chaos, as we've got Junior on standby.
Ever since Grim and Curry left, our spirit's been really low because those are really big players to lose, and Sheikh Zula is trying a lot of different tactics and things to like bring us back to that level we were at with them on our team. The light in the tunnel's there, but it's gonna be tough to get there, that's for sure. First game against Chaos, we started off. They just kind of like just ran at us, and we couldn't hit anything. We couldn't hit our shots. They were just like running 5-man out A, 5-man out B. We just couldn't stop them. We didn't really. It wasn't really like a game plan. We just didn't hit any of our shots. After the Chaos game, we spent a lot of time in the server. We thought we were playing one way, and then Sheikh Zula changed almost actually everything we did right after that game. Going up against the Godz, I think we should be fine as long as we play our game and hit our shots. Hopefully we can have a good game. Good luck to the Godz, and let's get it going.
33.333% of the rounds from Triumph. Now, if the season...
Echoing some of the concerns that you had there, Alex, Junior saying himself that, it has left a really, really big hole, those departures. And I wanted to touch on that previous game we saw them competing against Chaos, because I don't think there's any way of really putting it politely. They got absolutely bodied by them. What were some of the issues you saw them facing?
Jeez, where to start, honestly. It's tough because they were, like Junior said, missing a lot of shots. It felt like they were getting picked apart in the defaults. It didn't know how they wanted to end the rounds. But the thing is that you have to have a little bit of hope for Triumph, because Fallen, when he was interviewed actually at the blind spot after a day at Flashpoint, he actually said that Sheikh Zula, the IGL for Triumph then, was probably one of the best up-and-coming leaders in the NA space. So if there's anyone at the tier 2 level in North America that can bring this team together, that can just give them a crash course on how to change their style, change their tactics, it's going to be him. And he's used a variety of styles throughout his time as a leader. When he was coming up, sometimes he favors a slightly more default-centric style. Sometimes it's a more play-centric style, just kind of running a strat right off the bat. So I have a feeling today that we're going to probably see a Triumph that just targets the weaknesses of ZPG's defenses with quicker, faster plays and more set execs.
That's actually a really good point to bring up after that interview, because we heard Junior saying, we've just revamped the entire game. Shigzula has come in here and said, you know what, we're just going with a completely different approach. And I'm wondering whether that's going to mirror onto the maps. I want to come to you, Alex, to see exactly what you're expecting of this beta.
Oh, it's tough to say given that ZPG might be rehauling everything. That being said, he does love Vertigo and Nuke, that being the IGL Shigzula. I would be surprised to not see one of those picks come out from him here, but he's actually, okay, he's going to be going with, he's going to be going with Mirage. Okay, that's a little bit interesting given that usually he tries to build up those kind of tactical maps first of all, but it looks like he's just going to let some of his players loose.
And I like that.
Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I like the fact that he wants to let his players get loose, right? Because we just heard Junior in that interview, and I think he needs to have a little bit more confidence coming into this. Look, the players that he's facing up against in ZPG, they're a bunch of misfits. They're a bunch of has-beens that wasn't successful on any of their other teams, didn't make it to the top. We've got some youngsters in Junior and Penny, some unestablished players. I like the Mirage pick.
Well, speaking of which, it's time to do our predictions. Potter, I'm going to give you the difficult job. Who are you going with?
I just said that all about Triumph right now, but I still, once again, I got to stick with logic here. I think ZPG, this should be a walk in the park for them. I want to see Cooper farming in this series. I don't want to see him being timid in any way.
What about you, Alex?
I've also got to go with the ZPug Godz. I want to see Infinite take heads off. I want to see Zelsis use that experience, and I think ZPG's got it.
Yeah, I think they are going to be taking it. I think it's going to be a clean sweep across the board for that. But I think we can take a look at our Twitch chat poll predictions as well to see where the NA fans are siding. And they're going to be agreeing with us. 77% going the way of ZPG. I don't think we have any surprises coming into that. But without further ado, I think it is time to jump into our first best of 3 here over in NA. Everything is on the line for this Elimination Games. 2 teams that fought through the qualifiers are going head-to-head once again. One will live to see another day, and one will be bid farewell. And we'll find out who after this.
Well, would you look what the cat dragged in? It's Strawny and Vince back with you guys for a little bit of North American action. And here in the NA side of affairs, we kind of got screwed over yesterday, Vince. Only 1 game. I was ready for more. Sure, we got a lot of rounds, let's be real. Cloud9 taking it close. But, you know, ZPug Godz said in their interview that they thought that Vertigo game versus Liquid was closer than the score would have shown. I disagree. I think they got absolutely wrecked on that one. And coming into this series, Vince, I think that possibility is now out the window. I'm ready to buckle down for what should be an unknown quantity in terms of performance, because these 2 teams are just, I don't know, almost unquantifiable.
Yeah, and that's a key part of kind of coming into this game that I really don't know what to expect, especially seeing as we heard in the interview with Junior, which, by the way, he already sounded defeated to me. It was really sad.
Poor Junior. Oh, man.
He was so down. But changing all the tactics, if that's legit, then it's even more unquantifiable how they're going to do in this game. Like, I just can't see how it's going to go for them. Penny, though, and Moses going to be holding it down on Moose, I should say. I've obviously got Moses on my Liquid. Yeah, he's actually playing now, guys. You heard it here first. He's moved from coaching to playing within a couple of days. But they are going to be locking it down on Banana before they pull back, and ZPG are somewhat stuck in their ways. They do have the 1 player of Cooper over on the A side of the map, but the rest of them going to be starting to filter their way out towards B. But they have been stopped again. A couple of USP rounds just rattling around their heads, and they decide better of that decision.
I think that when we try to quantify these 2 teams, right, I mirror a lot of the sentiments set on the desk, in that, in terms of firepower, in terms of picking out players who could single-handedly take a map in their own hands, you've got to look at the individuals of ZPG. Guy like Cooper tries his damnedest. Dazzle comes in with one, and Marky also adds a frag to the tally. It's low HP for the two remaining CTs, and that doesn't bode too well for them. Vince? As this map goes on, I definitely want to pick back at what you were talking about with Junior's interview, because that self-defeatism, it's a tough pill to swallow, but you absolutely have to sympathize with their position. Dazzle, he does not sympathize at all. He's going to make it way worse real quick. 3 kills in the pistol for Dazzle as ZPG take that first one.
Oh yeah, in fine fashion as well. I was worried for them. They did lose the first frag, but you can see Dazzle again just putting bullets down range, and he was one of the shining lights when we did last see ZPG play. The guy that just basically stood in very short notice, Android going out, and he got 1 or 2 1v2, 1v3s, I want to say, in a row. He actually turned the tides and pretty much the mid portion of one of the halves that we watched by himself. It was pretty insane to see. So Triumph going to go in for their force. They do have a scout on Junior who is going to be hoping he can land some headshots. Good grenades on Banana already. Zels is feeling worse for wear, but he's still standing at least.
Dazzle, one of those players. I mean, Potter, I was surprised by Potter's bluntness. You know, Christine, she is a sweet person, but she called this group of players a bunch of has-beens, Vince. Has-beens. I think they still could be, but it depends on the roster. She's not wrong in the sense that it is a weird mix, and it's a last-minute stand-in of it all. But Dazzle, he has given us things to talk about at times, and Junior looks to do that now. But speak of the devil, the unkillable devil at this point. 4-0 as Dazzle hard entries. You know, go back to when we had the likes of Rise Nation as kind of, you know, that's, oh my God, that's like 2017. Whew, time flies. But Rise Nation, Dazzle, he was one of the stars on that one. And then I remember when he got picked up by the E United crew directly before IEM Chicago, his home city. And, well, that was kind of it. Things have sort of fizzled for him since then, but he was being touted as a sort of star. In the same way that Grim has looked great over this online era, you know, there was a time where Dazzle was supposed to be that next up-and-comer. Zelsis had that same kind of clout around him. Cooper did too when, you know, Freak was still back on this roster in like the epicenter of 2018. There's always been a time where we've looked at each of the individuals on ZPG and thought maybe they could be the next big thing. Maybe they would be included in the Liquid roster if ever they made a change. You know, Grim got that chance. God bless COVID, I guess. And now he's the one who gets to run away with this. But let's see what happens if they run away with the economy early on. That 2-0 start, and suddenly it's just those pistols for Triumph. Little bit of Kevlar, little bit of utility. Really bare bones of a buy. Cooper tries to take them by surprise, but they still just hide behind their boxes. So it's actually the T side who comes out worse for wear. Then the kills exchange back and forth. A 4v4, and he looks to walk away. Zelsis almost catching him.
Very close. 1-for-1 trade early on, though, will give Triumph something to work with. They can't quite get their hands on the weapon just yet, but they do have those upgraded pistols. Penny on 9 HP. As only one defender on A, we'll see Spongy start to move away onto the Archer's side. Dazzle waiting, laid in wait. If they do go for a peek, Spongy's dead man, but he decides to rotate on towards the A side. It's another one of those situations where there's not a huge amount to save, but there's a couple of Kevlars and upgraded pistols. They may even think about going back in for this because, as you can see from their economy, they can definitely buy in the next round. They've been dipping out so they could afford that luxury, but Dazzle taking significant damage will rethink his options going forward about going in for any aggression. His post plant should be ZPG taking a 3-0 lead on their T side on their choice of map. But Triumph are going to have a few things to talk about in this next round, including likely an AWP. We saw Junior. You've been touting him as one of the most anticipated and exciting upcoming AWPers in the NA region, and maybe one day able to wear the crown. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with that gun as he gets sprayed into oblivion from Zelsis' Mac 10. And this round is going to come to its conclusion the way we expected.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you bring back up the conversation about Junior kind of at this point, Vince, because Maui did a really good job of reminding me of what Fallen had to say about this roster. Sheikh Zula being touted as, you know, one of the guys who could elevate up and comers to a challenger type level. We saw that happen when he had the tools, of course, of Curry and Grimm. Triumph rose to the occasion in the last 6 months. And there's a chance that he could do it again, but you'd think that time has to be one of the ingredients in that delightful dish. Time has not been their friend as of yet. All still very much open wounds, these roster moves. But if he can utilize Junior, and if Junior can come out on top with more space than what the previous roster had, right? The idea of changing everything, as he had talked about in the interview, that scares me. But if they change everything and create more of a chance for Junior to be their next star in the same way Grimm was, that I think is where Triumph has a chance at re-emerging from this rocky moment in their roster's history. But we're into the gun rounds, okay? So let's cut out the what ifs and the who's a what's it, and let's focus in on the rifle round. We've got still plenty of smokes for Triumph to slow this one down. And Junior, he's looking to make that first contact now, switching out with the bomb site itself, and ZPG ready to just rock and roll this A bomb site.
This first test with the rifles on the horizon and getting closer and closer with each passing second. Smokes being deployed on both sides, going to stall ZPG that a little bit longer, but we can see that they have made a declaration. Their intentions are clear. A site or bust. They don't have time now to go for a rotation, especially considering no one's in banana. So for all they know, they're being flanked. They have got to press forward, but the timing works against Triumph. They send this third player over towards A, leaving just 2 remaining on the site, and both the A defenders have been squashed. Marky and Infinite with Galils rip straight out onto the side. It's going to be a 4-0 lead, but at least Triumph looking good to save their weapons. Excellent start, though, from ZPG.
Yeah, definitely excellent. Silver lining, Junior got away from the A site so that he could save his op. I mean, it just does prioritize the weapons in the next one, but this is a 4th for ZPG straight out the gate. Vince, I'm starting to get a little nervous. Not going to lie. But at the same time, you could also just unwrap this round by saying it's that missed rotation. Maybe if Junior's still sitting over in library, he cuts off the arch side, the 2 Ts or CTs on site can just focus forward and shut down something. But it scares me that 5 players survived. It's not like Junior could have made that minimal difference. No, he would have had to have done everything by the looks of it, because the 2 hard defenders still came up empty-handed. Triumph's not going to take a pause just yet. Going to recalculate the buy, get the grenades they can while also equipping the 2 pistols, perhaps, or not. Okay. They've got that round loss starting to stack, so curb purchase this time with 5-7 and a deagle on the 2 casualties of round 4. Early grenade to chip away at Cooper and Zelsis. And this is actually something very exciting for me moving forward. So far on Inferno, the op duel between Cooper and Junior has been near non-existent. But if that really gets rolling throughout this series, I am super excited to see it, because I tout Junior as one of the big up-and-comers. Cooper has also turned heads at times. And Christine wants to see him provide the action today. I'm right there with her. Potter's got something to say about it, which is always fun when she gets excited. Zelsa is starting to get a bit of excitement here towards mid. He's thinking about pushing around that smoke. What lies in wait? The vast majority of Triumph.
Yeah, they're ready. This time the rotation has been called perfectly. They have 4 players over in the vicinity of A. But again, there is time, and if CPG don't fully barrel down onto the site, it may force a rotation or 2 out into the open. Good spray through the smoke is going to take some damage, and a kill onto Zelsis from Moose. Penny also deciding that he's going to join in on his comrade. And now Spongy with the deagle holding the line exceptionally well, and it is almost a clean sweep. Only Sheikh Zula dies in amongst the action. And keep in mind, you said coming into this round, you were getting worried, Scrawny. I was right alongside with you. Until round 5, there was only 4 kills collectively for Triumph. They've just doubled their overall frags and then some.
Yeah, it was looking dire, and it still could, right? Like, but that's the glimmer of hope. It's nice to see that they can win a round convincingly. They've just got to do it repetitively, and they have what it takes, absolutely. But, you know, with the kind of conversation painted on the desk, this start of the map was getting me worried. Now, an opening kill again for Triumph. Shake Zula is able to get out of dodge without too much damage. He is still near half. Junior missing a little bit of a flick. That gives Dazzle an opening, and this guy makes space. He's going to gun down Spongy in the mini pit, hits the headshot near instantly, and Shake Zula has to try and decide what he wants to offer over. Just like 2 rounds ago, Vince, the A site falls so quickly that they have to go for the save. There's no other option. That bomb site's gone. Why? Thanks to Dazzle.
That just is the issue, isn't it, of the CT side that we saw from Triumph as well last time around, that they get this round, they have this brief moment of basking in the sunlight, and then suddenly it sets and everything gets a little bit cold. It cools off. They have to go save again. And that's going to play hell with their confidence, you know. Again, to go back to that whole Junior interview, he seemed very down about how things were going. Clearly, he misses Grim a great deal, understandably so. He's a great player. But at some point, you still need to come onto the server and have that belief. I think Potter touched on this, that you have to have that self-confidence, that you can beat anyone. You can beat ZPG. Let's be honest, they're not a top-tier team. They're not one of the best teams in the world. You can beat them on your day, but you have to believe in yourself, especially with an AWP in your hands. I feel like the AWP is such a confidence-based gun. You have to feel that you can just go around the corner and take anybody down. Whoever it is, Saiwu, who cares? Simple, who cares? You can beat these guys on your day. But if you're doubting yourself, it's going to show in your gameplay.
I don't think I could have said it better myself. I'm right there with you. So let's see if maybe it's just going to take a couple of quick flicks, Vince, to shake off that rust, to bust out of the cage that seems to have Junior maintained at the moment. He did get blindsided by Dazzle out Boiler, and that was a chance and a half. You know, Dazzle could have easily just been shut down with no trade potential there. Moose's utility is where we open up shop here on round 7. Triumph with a man advantage. Make it a double. Junior inside apps. A much more confident position, perhaps. And it gets him the second kill of the round for the favor of the CTs. Zelsis trying to play close smoke. Bomb has been left down at the base of Banana, so you know they're not going all in on anything, but rather looking to use a bit of the time to just get a couple casualties versus their opponents. Penny and Moose, the newcomers of Triumph, both on this B bomb site. They get to bring their flavor to the game. And Penny trying to hide as best he can, looking to just stay standing. Moose extends and gets his kill versus Zelsis. So from bad to worse for ZPG. They realize the substantial damage that they can still put into the coffers of Triumph. Cooper hunting these defensive members. Moose, he comes back out from his cubby, back from his hidey hole with yet another kill. It's all on Dazzle. There's the quick headshot. Anticipates the coffin peek, but Spongy swoops right in. And now they have a second on the board.
Such an interesting economic situation as well, considering that the score is now 5-2. Both teams have pretty solid money for a while. Like, sure, you've got Cooper down to 0, Markey down to 150, but considering that Triumph have only won 2 rounds, they got players up to that 4-5k mark. This is because they've saved so many times. Even when they've lost, they've kept 2-3 players alive. These flashbangs are so brutal, and Markey going to be traded out by Zelsis as Shake Zula is on the receiving end of the battering. Good grenade damage though. Cooper and Zelsis so low, they can't afford to peek into these Molotovs, or they know they will die exceptionally quick. Penny gets winged by the grenade, 54 HP, but it is going to be the advantage to Triumph one more time. Maybe they can finally get 2 rounds in a row.
Maybe. But I think they still need to find the solution to Dazzle. He's so fun to watch sometimes when it comes to these solo lurks. And we saw it work versus Junior on Short A. Expect him to come out from apps. I feel like some of my favorite Dazzle clips come from this balcony entry. So it's never going to get easier here for Triumph unless they can find the solution to him. Junior posts up just as the T's line up, and it's a collateral. That's going to be a bolster to the confidence as Dazzle also gets shut down. Spongy finding the better angle of him, and just like that, it's Triumph within 2.
excellent. Just what they were looking for.
Junior's coming online, Vince. I can feel it now. You know, a little slow start, got caught off by Dazzle's late lurk, but now he's finding himself. He's already tied his team at the top. 5 kills apiece for him, Spongy, and Moose.
Yeah, he's really turned it around. 1-4 at one point. Yeah, he's feeling it with the AWP. Prime position, playing more aggressive angles. Love to see that. And you know, it depends on the player in question. Some people, when they're really down and feeling pretty bad about things, you know, they can let it get the better of them. And some people use that. They use that energy to actually push themselves in. It's almost like nothing to lose mentality. You know, beware of a man with nothing to lose. And if Junior is getting to that stage, this could actually be all he needs to free himself up fully. That they could be coming into this game feeling like underdogs with no pressure. So let's see if they can battle back. Mr. Puggod's gonna have another bite. It is Cooper on a deagle, but still assault rifles around him, and Moose catches that grenade on the head. 43 HP remains. We've seen Banana, as it so often is on Inferno, be this hotbed of contestation, and it's really wielding so much damage from this utility. Now Zelsis and Marky feeling it.
I like that we've got the newcomers of Triumph playing this B bomb site together. I think it kind of, you know, when you're not trying to hinge on what once was, think about the fact that Triumph, you know, they may have lost those 2 players that were key to their success, but hey, if you just don't look at the B bomb site right now, it's the same team. We'll see if that synergy comes to fruition and whether Moose in his deep position can shut down ZPG. They're about to walk right by him, and they don't even check it fast enough. Moose, he's lost his teammate. He needs to come up with more than that, and there's an opening now. You see them sprint. Junior rapidly moving over. He's going to eat the flashbang and put one down of his own, opting to move towards Coffin. And the scope's up. The shot's a miss. Oh my goodness. He's not letting them feel comfortable, trying to line up some wild wall bangs as his 2 teammates move over. But that quick trade versus Moose and poor Penny empty-handed, this B site was going to fall. We've seen many a save from Triumph. Do they actually force the retake? It'll be hard with that coffin smoke just going down.
They have the money to justify it, but as you say, the positions and the smokes that have been deployed make this very difficult indeed. They're still tossing out some of their utility. They can replenish that easily enough, but now time is just way too low. They're stuck. They need to make sure they keep these 3 players alive. So Spongy, good job to hold down the line onto Cooper. But again, Triumph this time managed to string together 2, but then they stumble, and ZPG takes 6 rounds already on their T-half. The good news for Triumph, they can buy. It's not really an issue of their economy because they've played it very intelligently, but they need to start getting round scrawny. It's not good enough just to keep saving now.
It's the beast, Vince, the beast of CT side Inferno. Your hands sometimes tied, not in a good way. You get forced to just let those rounds slip past. Bomb left back, and ZPG down here at the base of Banana.
Sounds of ordnance coming to their end on Banana rings out with some smokes and flashes now over on the A side. Smokes have been deployed from both teams to try and wiggle into any possible little scrap of real estate. And Zelsis is actually dry walking up. There is a smoke put down on hay bales. This would suggest there's going to be an apartment flood of teas. Penny with the spray gets the bomb. The bomb was the last one in, and now that's going to separate the teas. This has gone horribly wrong.
Oh.
A disaster. And Triumph pick it up without any loss of life.
Yeah, disastrous if you ask ZPG, but Triumph have another idea. That was solid. Excellent timing by Penny. I'm not going to lie. We look over at Triumph, we know what they had to offer. So the 3 players that remain from their most successful run, you know, we have quantified by this time. It's Moose, who we haven't seen as a star of T2NA for a little while. Arguably just as long as maybe Dazzle, if not longer. But Penny to me is still completely unknown. I'm not going to fake it. Haven't been keeping my eyes on this guy. And in that first match we had versus Chaos, no real reason to even form an opinion yet, Vince. That timing on the A play, cutting off Cooper, doing damage to the dude on short, getting the bomb carrier, and then doubling up with that second frag made the hold for his teammates all the easier. So while this match goes on and we figure out whether ZPG will actually best a more established team, then I also wonder what Penny has to offer. You know, it's nice sometimes to keep our eyes on teams we don't know much of. See what's on offer. He's going to take the front run down B. Normally it's Moose, but they seem to have swapped sides. And then he fades back ever so slightly. 2 players for ZPG deep in apps. Triumph just doing what they've done. Leaning over towards that A site and going for the B retake if necessary. Nice to see Moose, as opposed to being down deep, just playing it more cautiously by car.
This is all facilitating Shake Zula. They're trying to bait out with Spongy Spray that there's no one up close, and if they were to push into middle, it would be a massacre. But they've bypassed this. They've bypassed the trap. They tiptoe past the tripwire, and they start to run their way up Banana. One player here for the time being, it's Moose, and he decides to push through the smoke, the aggression paying out in dividends. And that is a huge moment in this round. There's Penny, the man that you highlighted. Again, having huge impact around middle. Just peeking out, gets the kill down to 19 HP, but alive to tell the tale. And Moose, still 100 HP to his name, now has backup. Up on the boost. Cooper and Markey, a Galil and a Deagle between the two of them in a 2v4 with 22 seconds left. It's not looking good, especially as they have to peek into Junior, and there's going to be no smokes or nothing to block their passage, and it's easy pickings for Junior and Triumph. Solid hold.
Junior does it in the end. Penny, you better count your lucky stars, my friend. He peeks into Dazzle, but Vince, he had run past Boiler Door. He had gone on the mid-cross, just stomping, giving away all of the audio cues. You saw Dazzle actually reposition off of the audio to take a more off angle, hoping he'd catch that rotate and try and open the A site as he has done before. But instead, Penny, after losing like plus 60 HP, just rips the AK headshot and denies him that potential opening. So that could have gone the other direction very easily, I think. However, Moose creeping around the smoke, and then Junior stealing it with the 2K. It's all perfect last round for Triumph, and this one will be too, Vince. Celsius, as desperate as he is, tries to run in with the Glock. Penny shuts that one down. We've got 3 Kalashnikovs on the side of Triumph, and this game's tied at 6. Have you asked me 4 rounds deep whether Triumph was already out of this? A part of me would have wanted to say yes, but here we go. Starting to warm up, the individuals shining, and most notably, other than Moose at the very, very top of all things, pretty even performance. And that's what you're going to need. Triumph, it has to be the team effort. It's got to be that orchestra of fraggers. Shake Zula deep down mid, caught off by Dazzle. He pops up from the hidey hole and just sweeps away 2. And as quickly as he gets his double, Infinite answers with another frag also towards A. So 3 kills on A site. You absolutely bet it all and run rampant with that bomb, which will eventually get there in time. Penny, he's going to be empty-handed. They could go for the post plant if they choose to, but the odds not in their favor.
I'm seeing some differences, though. You know, again, in the interview, they kind of surmised that a lot of things were going to change, that Shake Zula was going to shake things up. And you saw there, Moose again, pushing past the smoke aggressively down Banana. Very, very aggro plays. I love to watch that happen. And ZPG, they're going to be feeling pretty annoyed about this. You know, they're not necessarily plays that you're anticipating and expecting. And Moose always seems to have the perfect timing. It's not enough. Obviously, they still concede the round. And it's one of those calls, right, Scrawny? If pushing down middle works, you look like a genius. If not, you look a little bit foolish. But I suppose they felt like they had to start mixing it up. They are going to go for this retake, surprisingly, with the time. But they have the money to afford the opportunity. And they know that ZPG's economy is rough. It is a worthwhile trade to take down the T's.
Yep, 100%. Here's Dazzle frazzling the 2 players in mid, Infinite catching that 3rd kill, and that's the way the A site crumbled. I think it's nice to see Moose. You know, you're talking about going for those kinds of smoke plays, Vince, and these nicely timed mid-round moments. You can, I would say, compare that very easily to what we've seen from Dazzle. And don't forget, this is a team. Oh, hold on. Moose is not going to give us time to talk about it. As opposed to creeping around smokes, he tries to pummel his way through it. He looks to just charge in, antlers forward, and, well, it doesn't go too well. There is substantial damage on 2 of the T's just on the other side, but do they want to chance another body at this? They're remaining close. Marky, he's still tucked. Flashes go high. They decide not to charge right through just yet. They still have options open. And to go back to that last point, Vince, never mind. Sheikh Zula decides to go forward again. I'm just going to let it go.
The point that must never be made.
Never. Nope. Voldemort over here. Like, never mind. We're good. Okay, I'm going to try again. Dazzle and Moose have very kind of similar play styles at times when it comes to these mid-round lurks around smokes and finding timings. And when they played on the same team, I think it kind of stopped each other from being the best they could be. But Spongy, best one. Penny, looking for the double, still gives a chance to Cooper for the plant. And Junior now so outnumbered. But he could get this first kill versus Arch. Maybe then a 1v2 perhaps. But instead, Marky shuts it down.
Something we don't often give teams credit for. And it seems counterintuitive, right? Because you always want to see a team go aggressive and have that belief that they can retake. I will say Triumph have played such a good half when it comes to saving weapons. I know it sounds like such a strange, mad thing to say, right? But considering that they've constantly had solid economy, even at the beginning when they were getting destroyed, it has facilitated them more rounds. And if they pick up a 7th, it's absolutely even. It's anybody's game. Sure, ZPG will have the slight advantage, but it's nothing too significant. Junior scores the goal between the 2 T's who are looking to push up middle, but he does survive to tell the tale. And that's the important part. So Triumph retain all 5 players. No real damage has been inflicted, but as I say that, Zelsis goes in with the entry, and Penny, who was caught with a nade out, couldn't help Moose, and then very much goes the same way. But the bomb is still back on T steps. No players from the CTs pushing down middle, allows safe passage and sanctuary over on B site. This smoke may clear in a few moments. There's going to be a flashbang tossed in there just to allow some safe passage, and a second smoke replenished in to blind away the oncoming CTs. Last round of the half, they're going to go for this, and Sheikh Zula taking the head off Marky. It's a 3v3 scrawny, but the HP favoring the CTs.
Dazzle, he's next to that smoke. He heard the reload. He's thinking about going through this, and sure enough, he does. Double spray down, shuts it right out to the favor of ZPG. There's the 3rd to seal the deal. Dazzle looking deadly. Join us after the halftime break as Triumph trail by 3.
How hard can you go? 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 How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you go? How hard can you go when the beat drops? Drop. go? How hard can you go? How hard can you go? How hard can you go? How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you go? 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 How hard can you go?
Many questions around these two teams coming into this week's event, but I think we've got some answers, Vince, and I believe Dazzle may be the best stand-in that North America has to offer. A lights-out performance in the first 15 of Inferno, 14 kills to his name, leaps and bounds above the rest of the roster. And funnily enough, on the other side, it's his ex-teammate and also recent addition, Moose, trying to keep Triumph in this. They trail by 3 as they start the T side, but they've been given Banana for relatively free. False confidence, perhaps, as we still have ZPG stacked on that side of the map.
Now looking to cash in, but maybe fool's gold. There's 3 players over here on B. Infinite does get tagged. He's going to slightly move back. Does have a couple of flashbangs. If they hear the pitter-patter footsteps of an oncoming rush, you can toss one in the air and blind the oncoming Ts. But they have felt out B. They decide against pushing into it. And they're going to change their angles of aggression through middle and second mid instead. So going into the apps, no one's home for ZPG. They're playing more passively with their 2 defenders on A. One back in towards the pit. The other one is Marquis on site. Now smoke's going to start to come down and the T's push in. No movement from the A side just yet, or from B to A rather. And now Penny just springs into action with Junior. 2 comfortable, clear kills. And ZPG, the wrong side of the map, the wrong side of the smoke, do have a kit and a couple flashes to play with, but considering that everybody is completely healthy on Triumph, to retake this site would take something truly special. And they're going to be looking for Infinite to be that pivot point with his USP while his 2 teammates come in from short. But Junior has this one on lock. Moose, who's in fine form right now, putting that Glock to use with 2 kills. And Infinite, the only player still alive on the CTs, may think about pulling back and saving, as he does have the kit. He did have a second flash, but he's used that to try and facilitate his escape, and Spongy will not allow that to take shape. So it's going to be 9-7, and Triumph with an all-important second pistol round.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Marky. You know, Penny, these zoomers, Vince, I don't know how we're supposed to keep up. He just prances into that A bomb site Glock out. You know, they met no resistance up until that point, and maybe that's the error of ZPG. You know, not trying to post up on any USP angles, not even getting the fadeaway shots, but just hoping they could tuck in the corners and then punish if the hit came in. But nope, not with Penny, just electric sliding through your bomb site, and then Moose with that nasty double. Oh, yes! Infinite with the wall bang down Banana. Suck on that one.
What a shot. Does get countered, though. They do lose a player in the form of Marquis straight afterwards. An Infinite who wants to go in and is feeling it right now with a Deagle. Gets tanked in the process. Stopped with that peek. Dazzle seeing a couple of heads just bobbing and weaving down on the staircase side of apps. Spongy there, though, to help Penny out. So if he does overextend, he will be put down in his place. And there is a reason to look to try and stack together here, ZPG, for a potential save. I'm not sure if that'll come into fruition, though. Dazzle going to get bested by Penny. I thought for a moment maybe the CZ was going to sing out for another frag, but that's not the case. And with 45 seconds left, Triumph starting to move their way up middle. Only Cooper here with his scout, and he decides it's not worth it, guys. I'll pull back. We'll save on B. Just give this round up.
Take what they can into the next. So be it. Cooper I'm waiting. I'm waiting patiently, Vince, to see him try and take over the server if needed. I mean, Dazzle's doing it all for the time being. And we haven't had gun rounds yet for the CT side of ZPG. But, you know, my eyes will fall on him. Maybe it's Inferno, not necessarily an Opper's Paradise. But he's not just trailing. He's pretty far down there, Vince. We'll forgive him as time goes on. But this is looking good for Triumph. Starting to find that confidence on the A site. And you know what? With 2 new players, I do like that they have what seems like a convincing pack mentality. You know, the spacing's nice on the entry. When they decide to commit to their move, they are all right there. There's no disjointedness going on behind the T's for the time being. 9-8, 1 round lead to the CT side, and just enjoy that. Oh.
Solid fragging, man. But yeah, that opening deagle would have sent shockwaves down Triumph. And yeah, about Cooper, I agree, man. Like, he hasn't had that impact, but T-side Inferno, never great for AWPing. Once they do have the AWP under wraps, maybe on CT side, can really show us what he's capable of. With the scout goes in, does tag Penny down to 28, softens him up for the likes of the MAC-10 and some of these pistols. So decent damage to start things off, but Penny almost an identical frag to last round. This time it's infinite. No cheeky deagle peek down banana. He gets put in his place in boiler. But Triumph, it's the same result. They get the opening pick. They're into a solid position and force CPG into a stack on A.
A Zeus lies in wait. Penny. Come here, Penny, Penny, Penny. Dazzle just wants to zap him so bad. And that would kind of get him back. You know, you said the identical kills going down in apartments. So far, it's been Penny's playground, but he will keep him honest. Dazzle tries to jump the gun. I don't mean to kind of, you know, light up Cooper down there on the scoreboard, Vince, because what reassures me is, like you said, sometimes opping comes down to the confidence. And on the T side of Inferno, it's difficult to get the scoped weaponry rolling. And the moment... Marky, with the dirty deagle from downtown, at least they've got that going for them. You know, it's another one-off. If they can pull out kills like that in the gun rounds, then there's still a chance. And to get back to my Cooper point, with him going down mid on the scout this round, it's clear that he wants to get the show going. It's not like he's timidly hiding back in library with his teammates all around him. No, he's trying to put himself on that front line. And if he has the big green as opposed to the mini scout, I think that Triumph may have a bad taste in their mouth soon enough. We shall see. For the time being, they tie the game. 9 rounds each.
Indeed, you can see that the execution may not be there, but the idea is. And that idea may spring into action right here, right now. Cooper has his hands on the AWP. He's upgraded from the scout to the AWP. They still have a MAC-10 on Spongy, so they have a bit of mobility. But there's only one player without head armor, and it is Cooper. Because of that costly 4,750 AWP. Loads of grenades being tossed out from both teams. It is quite the battlefield, and Dazzle gonna have his feet singed as he pulls back. Sheikh Zula takes a nade and a Molotov behind it. Excellent utility early on from ZPG, but keep an eye on how much grenades they have left. Lots of time, 1 minute 25, 2 smokes, 1 incendiary. Not ideal for Inferno, and to make matters worse, Marquis, perforated through the smoke, is going to open up business into middle, if Triumph won it.
Not being given any real chance here, Cooper. He's been flashed back into pit. He was trying to hold closer on short side, but that's not his decision now, because the looming threat could be way too much for him to gamble a risk. He's got 2 teammates trying to help him out here, one towards library, but you see the pressure's on him. Smoke fades. Cooper landing the first shot into Penny, but a T swoops down on him. Spongy soaking up the attention and dishing out the damage. Man advantage held by Triumph. And oh no, Moose, he's trying to just get back, and he will do so in time. Repeats for the fight as Junior and him each get a frag, and that is Triumph with a lead.
You touched on it there, Scrawny. The utility from Triumph on the approach there was succulent. It was beautiful to watch. Cooper got flashed like 3 or 4 times in a row. It's like he kept trying to fall back. He's like, guys, I need to move back. And every time he moved back, another flashbang in his face, another flashbang in his face, until he couldn't. His back was against the wall. He couldn't move any longer. He did well to get 1 kill, but then there was the mobility of the MAC-10 from Spongy. Excellent work from Triumph. Seeing a really solid T-half taking shape. And although the grenades are good again from ZPG, it is very much a case of, is there much to back it up? There's only pistols. Now, pistols can be a nuisance. We've already seen Infinite land some of these 1Ds, and there's another one. But Triumph able to pick up the AK and fall back. They still have the advantage in terms of firepower, even if they are a player behind.
Not necessarily what I expected to see, but scoreboard shows Penny and Moose 16 kills each at the top of the charts for Triumph. That is not what we saw in their opening game versus Chaos. And I think that's why maybe our experts were a little more willing to write them off, because this hadn't been the equation that we had seen. Sheikh Zula sees nothing, but there are definitely threats near. They've let them get all the closer, and the kills start to trickle in. Marky not fast enough to turn attention and deal with Spongy. He does do half of the health damage, but oh, what could have been? Sheikh Zula, 9 HP. Spongy, 48. Junior, with that sniper, still standing on the full bar. And Zelsis, he wants to get something done here. Him and Infinite with their trusty pistols. The upgraded pistols that seem to be the star of the show. For the CTs, at least. Spongy plays it patient. It's going to be impossible to make the retake, but maybe they can walk away with something worthwhile. Infinite gets his grubby little hands on an AK-47, and he's going to walk away with that. Zelsis trying to do what he could have, but he gets toppled in the end. Infinite, that's your silver lining. Triumph, they're going to extend that lead to 2 Vince, and this T side is convincing. I love the commitment between players when they go for their A hits. Everything is so well timed. There is synergy on Triumph right now. Again, when we last saw them, it was less than 24 hours since this roster merged. They've been talking about how much practice they got in, how everything has changed. Well, they're at least all on the same page. That much is clear.
A united force, absolutely. And again, Banana. Raining nades on both sides of the equation. It is 5 unanswered rounds on their T-half for Triumph, and Marquis playing with fire. He gets burned to a crisp from Spongy. Flashbang is very solid from Dazzle. Nearly misses out on the spray. But now Cooper with the AWP makes his presence felt. Sheikh Zula with the frag. It's going to be a post plant. And Junior is in close enough proximity now, jumping down into pit via apps to make a go of it with his AWP in mini pit. This first peak could be everything for the T's. Good Molotov forces Infinite to stay in library and think about what will be coming up in the next few moments. Zelsis going in for a peek. There's going to be a flash before it doesn't affect Junior, who's going to hold the line for 1. And now 2 players remain. Sheikh Zula, perfect hold down with the AK-47. Shoulder peeks finds Infinite, who's getting peeked left and right. Needs to come in with some spray. Gets the spray done, taking significant damage in the process. And all the meanwhile, the bomb is ticking to its conclusion. But Junior's going to cut it short. 12-9. Triumph continue to impress. And Junior now, you can see that confidence surging through him.
Yeah, 2 versus 3 post-plant situation. Sheikh Zula hiding up in the cubby finds the perfect time to strike. And ZPG, you better take your pause. They've got 1 more after this, but we have Triumph starting to run away with it all. You know, we had to sing the praise of Dazzle on that first half. Vince, may I remind you, ever since the swapping of the sides, we have not seen a round win from ZPG. 6 in a row for Triumph. But here is the silver lining. It started off with 2 rounds where they had 4 survivors, then 2 rounds where they had 3 survivors, then 2 survivors, then 1 survivor last round. So all the while, as that score starts to get further and further away, the outcome is closer and closer. ZPG need to remind themselves of that. However, unfortunately for them, they've got 3 players clearly trailing now. If you look on the other side of the scoreboard with Triumph, it is a team effort. ZPG need to make sure all their pieces shine towards the end of this map, or else they're going to be kicking themselves, thinking about what could have been. Obviously not the best of buys this time. Cooper, can he be the one-man army? Is he enough? That one off, looking for contact. Marky, he's going to get close in apartments and, almost robbed. Sheikh Zula with 16 HP survives that engagement, and there's so much damage already done to 2 of the 4 remaining members of the CT side. Cooper, now's your chance. He peeks into middle and cuts off Moose first and foremost. As lit as Infinite and Zelsis might be, Sheikh Zula's right there with them. Another CZ robbery. Get that gun out of here. Cooper goes back in for another attempt. Again, just trying to do all that he can because he knows he's the magic maker. And there's the connection. Cooper with the bomb in front of him now, knowing the T's get ever closer. He's just trying to find sanctuary, a safe enough spot to survive. But Spongy, he creeps out around the balcony. He takes down Cooper just as Junior gets the kill to Zelsis. Infinite, what are you made of? Not much, but flesh and bone. And Spongy rips that right off to give Triumph their 13th.
How unfortunate is that round, though? ZPG, 2 separate incursions with the CZ, should have had frags. Honestly, that Marquee play, his crosshair was dead on the head and should have been getting that. But, you know, you did also highlight that it's become more of a team effort from Triumph. Everybody now pulling their weight. Dazzle's only picked up 3 frags on this second half, man. And he was their main player, their main man with damage. They're going to look to try and take some initiative down Banana, and so far so good. But Junior, through the smoke, does pounce and does bring them back slightly, but they still lead in a 4v3.
Yeah, that's still a huge pickup from Junior, or else we're looking at a 5 versus 3, and the counter-terrorist would have just fallen back into like the most comfortable of defaults. Huge pickup for Junior through the smoke. And Infinite, I mean, he had to go for the gamble. He saw the barrel of either Penny or Sheikh Zula sticking out from the corner. He knew that player was tagged. He goes for the wild spray with a T within a foot of him, and he does get a second before going down. A second for the team, that is. Obviously, frag split between him and Zelsis. Poor Zelsis, though. He's already about half HP, and what remains of the T's is about to hit him all in. The smoke plumes at his feet. He should just buy time. Very important to survive. The damage he's doing is substantial, so credit to that as Moose falls to a third. Junior planting bomb on coffins, and Triumph their post plant entirely on the back of this site unless Junior can fight early and claw his way into a better position, but he is fully blind. There's Moose with the trade. A wild spray at a distance that leaves Spongy 1 versus 3 off the top rope of this back bomb site. He's anticipating the CTP, quells that threat, and then it's Dazzle from Banana. ZPG will take their double digits, Vince. They are not done yet.
Not done, but their economy nearly is. They can drop 2 weapons from Dazzle and Zelsis, but they are going to be running very thinly when it comes to any grenades. Unfortunately, they do pick up an AK and an AWP, so Cooper can take that for himself. But when you look at the disparity between the economy of the 2 teams, Triumph will be able to buy in the next round regardless of what happens here. So ZPG, great. You get yourself 10 rounds. That's awesome. You finally start to get some success on the CT side. But can you keep it going forward? Can you string together those results? Because if you don't, you are looking at being financially ruined with Triumph just a couple steps away from securing your map choice. The pressure, Scrawny, is on.
Hell yeah, it is. And honestly, Vince, I'm all for it. Let's see who's going to step up. Again, it's difficult to quantify this matchup. Very uncertain as to what was going to happen. We've gotten some of the key storylines we may have predicted. Good showing from Dazzle. Moose stepping up as he would have been expected to in their first showing. Junior goes for the airborne play. Must be a jet main. Doesn't pick up that op shot. Counter-terrorist still keeping 3 defenders over on this A site. Looks like we may get this B wrap through Arch. Can Cooper manage? Smoke's fading, and he's thinking about getting ever closer. He better have a good rate of fire. Needs to get the op on cycle. He knows he's close. Cooper nearly getting that second one, but the inaccuracy puts his bullet just to the side of Spongy, who now could have a field day inside of CT spawn. He just saw Zellsis turn his shoulder. Zellsis, he's doubled back, now watching this, and with the FAMAS, the inferior weaponry, is still able to pick up the kill. Dazzle, he's going to move forward, catching the timing, but Junior, what a crucial shot. Marky to the graveyard now. Oh, he could play this slow. Oh, there's the shot to the back of the site. 4 seconds left over. Moose, he needs the plant. Now there's no time. Moose, he needed the cover of his teammate to succeed, but instead he gets frazzled and fires off himself. Oh, devil's in the details. And old man time gives that one to the defense.
Couple of so important, impactful kills. Marky just stalling them on the site. They had 10 seconds when they looked to try and pressure into there. And ZPG, as I said before, their economy hanging by a thread on the balance. You can see what kind of buy they have here. 2 MP9s. Triumph have a better purchase, even though they just conceded. But good early grenade damage is going to soften up those targets for the SMGs, for these M4s, as ZPG going to have to try and hold it one more time. Junior slowly snakes his way and slithers into the site. There's no flashes, no smokes to precede this. And if he peeks at the right time, it is going to yield frags. But the timing on those grenades could not have been sweeter. ZPG stopped everything right away with 1 Molotov and 1 smoke behind it. And suddenly those incendiaries that get tossed in get extinguished from the CTs, and they look to play aggressively, but that's into the hands of the Ts, or perhaps not. It's somehow going the way of the CTs. I thought that crossfire would have them dead to rights, but apparently I was completely misjudging the scenario. As our Triumph aggression through the smoke, Penny does jump on top of Cooper and somehow Zellsis, and this round continues to twist and meander into such uncertain territory. Big grenade jumps right on top of Penny, who gets finished off, but just about gets the bomb planted in time. But it doesn't matter. Triumph concede anyway.
Man, I don't know if any of those plays make sense, but I know that they all took balls for the counter-terrorists to walk into that 3-man setup. I mean, it all begins with, let's actually backpedal that a little bit. Even Junior just snaking into that site with no support other than his teammates just behind him. He was looking to just silently take off their defense. The excellently timed Molotovs from both teams. All the utility gets extinguished, and then out of nowhere, Zellsis goes pushing into Banana. Awesome stuff. Then we get that run out from the smoke grenade. Then Dazzle comes wrapping back around from Banana as a perfect frag takes that bomb planter down to half health. Just so many minute moments that make that round awesome and keep this game as close as can be. But Triumph, their bank accounts as close to 0 as they would like. This is a rough spot. Everything on the line here for Triumph, or else ZPG could easily take back their lead, and we are in the latest portion possible on map 1. Spongy looking to be that lurking apps. Big round from Penny, just one to go. He's what got them on that bomb site. Zellsis just relying on Infinite to maybe lend a helping hand. A smoke grenade and a wild spray, but nothing comes of it. And Triumph, they're just going to wait.
Yeah, I understand this play, because if you think of the last round, Scrawny, they went really aggressive with peaks. That was with MP9s. Unlikely to do the same with M4s. They had 2 smokes and they put them in the standard positions, CT and coffins. Now flashbang over affords them the luxury of getting up close. With these AKs, the spray from Zellsis, even though he dies, he did so much damage. Penny and Spongy both exceptionally low and could get finished off by Infinite, but it's going to be a post plant. The 2 weakened players play back at the right side of the site, making it hard to deal with them with utility. If you wide swing in a 4v5 like this, you are susceptible to getting picked off from the likes of Pool. So really intelligent positioning from Triumph, and ZPG realizing that their economy still not supporting a rebuy if they lose all these weapons, have to just bite the bullet, go back and save. This is going to be such a painful decision for them, Scrawny, but they have to make it.
Yeah, I think Triumph, they go back to the whiteboard and think to themselves, what happened last round? Well, ZPG took a massive chance when they threw Zelsis into the top of Banana. And that's the kind of play that you maybe get away with once. Don't tell me that Triumph would have had their guard down as they rocked the bomb back towards Banana here in that 26th. They were so ready for Zelsis to try something like that again, that it would have been his end. So when nothing happens and they follow through with what they wanted to do the previous round in that 5-man B-site hit, look how convincing it is. Yeah, those two players who are incredibly low, they may have died, but at this point, it doesn't matter. We are so close to victory lane for Triumph that it's just a matter of get as many post plants as you can and just hope enough stick. Cooper takes a chance by peeking down mid to start this round with that sniper, then immediately moves the cannon back over here to this B site, so it will be a bolstered hold. He enables Infinite to take the boost. Penny off of the utility, trying to find the space here, but he runs across the pit, doesn't get caught off by the man on wall. Infinite will get the kill, and that's going to leave just one player back by Coffin because Zelsis dies to the wall bang. Infinite trying to get something done, but he needs to keep Cooper alive. Ensure these T's can't surpass the Coffins. Keep them stranded in the back of that bomb site because Marky's got a molly. And Dazzle has a smoke that could screw over this 2-man Banana post plant. In fact, that one smoke draws Moose back into the action. Now he plays in Little Pit. Bomb halfway gone. If CPG are going to deny this 15th round, it's all in right now. And Moose, he dodges the first flash. Time now just 1/3 of that ticker left over. Wild spray for Moose for the double. Cooper, with the no-scope. And it's all on Junior. They jump on top of the bomb. He has to kill Marky, and he will. Triumph, find 15.
Oh, Junior, that's so sick. He was fortunate that Cooper took damage, so he only had one bullet to land anywhere on his body, and they could quickly transition to that second player. But that aim, that spray transfer from Junior at the end here is so sublime. Headshot instantly onto Marky after dispatching of Cooper. And ZPG, man, that no-scope from Cooper was so sick. That deserved the round on its own, but as it stands, CS often is not a fair game. It doesn't feel fair. And ZPG have 3 rounds that they need to save if they want to keep their map alive into overtime. Triumph on the cusp of breaking down ZPG early on. 2 MP9s and a CZ alongside M4s. Not much utility, no kits. This is bare bones stuff from ZPG.
On the front runner. CT's giving them the space here on brackets. Infinite goes for the spam. He could have gotten caught with damage back the other way, but he walks away unscathed. And Moose, he wants to check these close corners, but Dazzle, he very well could serve as a distraction here. Poor Zelsis just relegated to the CZ. And Moose, you can already see him cautious of the corners. Moose, he's going to be focused in on this. Zelsis, empty-handed. Now it's Dazzle with not much better hardware. Off of the flash, it's perfect! Oh, it's perfect! Dazzle with a trio! And Junior able to trade it, but Infinite's tucked back behind box, and Junior doubles down. Another huge showing from the sniper of Triumph as that bomb is planted. He is 21-10 and a 2v2 post plant, Vince. Oh, Marky. He wants to run in, but he stops. Off of the flash, he goes back in. The headshot connects. It's Junior who got them this far, and he's going to have to take it over the line. This map's not done just yet.
How does Junior keep landing these ridiculous up-close shots with the AWP? I keep thinking he's going to die. The guy behind sandbags, I was 100% sure he had that one unlocked, but somehow, some way, Junior comes out reeling with frags and puts them in a position where they could maybe take this one down. That triple spray from Dazzle is sick, but I'd also like to just say that flash is the MVP of that round.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because it destroyed everybody in Banana.
Dazzle, the star of the show, but that flashbang, the best bit of supportive cast. Cooper, come on, buddy. This is your round. You've got the op. He's looking for his big showing. You know, if the sniper for Triumph is going to take over the show, then ZPG may just fizzle out. In terms of op impact, undeniable that Triumph have the edge at the moment. Spongie's Tech 9 within that range of lethality versus Dazzle. It's not automatic, but it won't quite matter.
Flash in for the peak. Dazzle gonna gobble up that opportunity. We saw that he has no problem following in flashes in the previous round, and this time it does facilitate the opening pick, but it was, as Scrawny highlighted, the Tech 9, the weakest of the weapons on Triumph. So if they were going to lose a player, Spongie certainly was the expendable one. However, now they have to fight back from a player disadvantage. Some aggression coming out for Sheikh Zula. AK versus Galil with an off angle to boot. Sheikh Zula never stood a chance. And now he needs the rest of his team to dig them out of this ditch. And it's just Dazzle putting more dirt on top of them and putting Junior into the dirt nap itself. Penny, 1v5, has to think about saving. It sucks. You hate to do this when you have map points, match points potentially, if you can just convert your map afterwards. But he's going to run straight out into Zelsis, who could sniff that one out. And now Triumph, in the last round of regulation, because they went for a force, they're going to be down to pistols and really not much else.
How North American Counter-Strike just keeps on giving. Overtime after overtime is what we've gotten thus far. It's so difficult to tell you who's good, who's bad, and who's just floating dead in the scene, Vince. I don't know. At times, it's all too wild, but I'm not going to let that take away from the excitement, because we've seen individual showings that are worth their weight in gold. But obviously, the one downside of this round is, as you said, that economic situation. Triumph, they're stacking up on B. Look at CPG. I want to know who called this. They decide to go for that A stack, and it's going to be the hard commit to B, it seems. Zelsis and Infinite trying to lay down utility, trying to stop this. Spam damage could be good. Penny, he decides to jump through haphazardly. Unnecessary risk, perhaps. Everybody else just waiting out the shots. Now it's a man advantage. Utility's not the best for the retake, but way more than what Triumph have to offer. The only thing on their side, Vince, is time.
They can't even go down on their firepower, but Sheikh Zula with the Tech 9 takes out Zelsis. They can't get their hands on top of that weapon, and Armaki comes out. Moose getting one. At least they're putting down some hurt. Junior, 1 versus 3 with the Deagle, but Dazzle's AK will not miss. And ZPG take us to overtime. Triumph let 3 map points slip.
I'm all for it. I am all for it. Triumph have something to prove. Their first showing with this roster fell flat. Now we get to see what Penny and Moose had to offer. 22 and 20 kills. Junior, again, one of the stars of Triumph that we had already had established some expectations, is up there with them. So apparently this is what, you know, this is the best case scenario for Triumph. This is their formula. And it's gotten them this far. However, there is still room for improvement on some of the players of ZPG, most notably here in Cooper. Still trailing. Still being outweighed by Junior's op impact. Zelsis as well, not too far away from the bottom of the scoreboard. If it was not for Dazzle, ZPG would have lost. I think it's safe to make that claim. And they may still lose. Just not in regulation. Minute on the clock. Numbers for Triumph towards Banana. I would say they have an affinity for B, and honestly, Vince, they should. They've gotten more post-plant situations on this side of the map. The defense has sometimes let their teammates down, but they hold for now. Utility dwindling on both sides. We've got that potential late lurk in Spongie in apps, trying to do his best Dazzle impression, perhaps. Infinite close oranges, and Zelsis backside.
Decent positions have been taken from ZPG, and again, they're stalling long enough to allow these rotations to come into play. Infinite on top of the boxes, an angle they haven't really used too often in regulation. Does catch them off guard, and now the crossfire is very much on the table. Both AWPers over here, but so is Junior. and he is going to dispatch of Zelsis, anticipating that a rotation will be coming in, but he can't stay here for that long. There's only 10 seconds left, and in doing so, now he's going to be giving up that ground. 8 seconds to go. They can't do this. Triumph have completely wrecked themselves by not paying attention to the time, and even though Spongy is making a valiant attempt, Dazzle knows he just has to survive, just has to hide, and the round will be ZPG's.
An unfortunate situation there for Junior. I mean, I really respect his play. Anticipating that CT rotate makes absolute sense. But because that one defender on the B site for ZPG wasn't panicking and just chilling inside of construction, knowing he could deny plant, Junior was waiting until he absolutely had to go and grab that bomb. And he actually mistimes it. It was down in pit. He thought it was on site. So he runs up and has to jump back, then leaving him 0 seconds to spare, as opposed to maybe 1 or 2. And yeah, that's not a lot. Let's be real, man. You're all sweating bullets, but it could have been done. Spongy on that late lurk at A was out of the equation entirely. Junior had everything to do, and it slips through, giving the defense a 1-round edge. Sheikh Zula trying to work his way through Arch gets nullified. And now it's the 3 Ts from short to try and puncture through this hold. All of ZPG's A defense is inside of the bomb site, a kerneled hold. A rock-solid wall, perhaps. Dazzle just sits back on the side of the smoke, hiding behind the tallest of boxes. They know that their arch is open, but it's also being held somewhat by Infinite. So they focus forward. Good wallbang damage. Penny! Oh, Penny just rips right through. 2 kills for him. Junior a solo frag, and Infinite coming back in. Almost manages the spray. He leaves them 1v1. Penny gets his hands back on bomb and absolutely sees Marky. Oh, a 4th for Penny. Hard entry on that A site. The new kid does it all.
Phenomenal, man. Has he now caught your attention, Scorny? You said after that last best of 3, you didn't notice him. I think he's made a few points here. I think he's just tapped her on the shoulder and said, look, I'm not just here to make up the numbers, guys. I'm here to actually frag. I'm here to have impact. And my God, what a time to step things up. I was going to say Tramp's confidence. We, again, talked about this. When you let rounds slip and you let that point slip, could get the better of you. And now Zelsis is hiding behind the wooden barrels, waiting and anticipating a play is forthcoming. And that would be the correct decision. Down goes Sheikh Zula, the leader. First of all, one more time. And Triumph may have to pull the plug on any banana shenanigans. And the other thing as well, we heard that they'd revamped everything, that Sheikh Zula was trying something entirely different. Well, we're now in overtime. Maybe they're running out of ideas, Scorny. Maybe this is where the, a gas tank starts to run dry.
Could be. It would be a shame for a map that has delivered excitement and then some. But they rock the boat back towards B. Another test for the 2 defenders fully committed to the depths of this B bomb site. We've got Infinite and Zelsis. M4s each, 1 smoke, 1 molly, 1 flash between them. And unfortunately for ZPG, look at the distance between the rotation. If they don't hold this one, I don't know about the odds of the retake. They need to get at least a couple kills. Worst case scenario, there's the cross to pit for Spongy. He gets burned back into the open, still able to shine under pressure, gets them both. And now, as I said, that worst case scenario is even harder. 0 kills, Vince. Empty-handed hold. Man advantage and deep positions here from Penny. He is so ready.
Oh, Penny. Left the first cross, nearly gets the second frag, but there's Spongy alongside him. Penny will be disappointed he didn't get both, the competitor in him, but he won't care. Assuming that Dazzle cannot clutch out this 1v3. Damage to Moose, but Triumph will lead going into that second half of overtime, and I've got to give them credit. After losing 3 in a row and potentially choking this map away, 15-12 in the lead. They lost the first round of overtime, but then, Scorny, they showed true resilience. Penny comes out with a clutch, and they win the next 2 rounds, and they have the slight advantage on their CT side.
And now outside of Sheikh Zula, you really get the example of Triumph showing up. 2 kills separates the other 4 fraggers. At this moment, they are the better team. but only by a knife's edge. Junior posted up, hoping that someone would walk forward, but it looks like ZPG have other ideas and want to size up this B bomb site first and foremost. Utility comes sailing over the rooftops. They boost, anticipating that the defense may go for some sort of wild push. Seeing as Zapug Godz themselves have an affinity for said antics, they'll give it the respect it deserves. Then the follow-up smoke, clearly showing that they had no interest in Banana Vince, but rather just wanted to push these T's back and buy their time. 2 smokes remaining here for Triumph and 4 players about to hit this B site.
Release the grenade as ZPG blot out the sun with smokes, but there is a team kill put in there. Moose missing his shot. He's burning alive in the meanwhile. And ZPG seem to have done enough to at least get them passage towards the site for the post plant. The murky waters of a retake now come upon us, but it's Spongy will be the lone anchor over on the A side of the map. And he's looking to see if he can maybe find a lurk and upgrade this M4. Again, it's 16k. There's no need to save this M4. They're going to be able to rebuy, no issues, no questions asked whatsoever. So I can only assume he's going to try and maybe get an exit frag and upgrade the M4 to an AK, or potentially a second AWP if they so choose. But the round's done. Whichever way you spin it, whichever way you turn it, it's going to be 17-17. I also wonder, just to give Spongy the benefit of the doubt, if maybe the IGL is called save and they're running over tactics in this time, treating it as a mini timeout.
Could be, absolutely. Or instead of tactics, maybe he is submitting a formal apology for killing Penny through smoke. That 2-man defense was doing all the work until Sheikh Zula showed up. And that's gotta hurt, man. Sheikh Zula, already not having the best of games in terms of the frag count, then takes down one of the heavier fraggers in a situation where he could have definitely come up with more, but it's okay. Bygones be bygones. 19 for the win, 18 secures double OT. All the options open. They immediately go for a defender. Sheikh Zula, he looks to make it up for them, throwing himself onto the front, but Celsius gets the better timing, and Moose gets the better spray. 3 kills, and 2 of which through Coffin. That right there could be the difference. As Junior shuts down the guy in apps, it's all on Cooper, and they're boosting right next to him. He could find the better of the timing. He knows exactly what's up, executes Moose, knows a second player's near, but Spongy's been able to tuck back into the safety of the church. And Cooper, he tries to give chase. He's got 50 seconds to make this happen. Spongy's patience is perfect, but his shot's not. And now Cooper runs right back into the bomb site. That last defender in Junior, a man who has already come up big, who has given us the fireworks of map 1, now looks for another clutch. And with low HP on Cooper, he gets shot at. Dodges the bullets, there's the peek, and Cooper takes one now. His time to shine, better late than never.
How did they concede that round after Moose's miracle play on Coffins, man? He gets a triple spray. The way he used the Coffin, he was bobbing up and down, crouching and uncrouching, just unreal. But Cooper still comes back and takes it. And now it's ZPG's turn to have a map point. Triumph have let so many opportunities go by the wayside, but they can still take us into that double OT territory. ZPG playing it passively, not going too aggressively. 3 players stacking banana as a Molotov's there to greet them. And so they need to be wary here, Triumph. If they overextend, if they overstay their welcome, they leave A very susceptible to being charged down. And they'll realize this as they start to rotate one of those players off. In actual fact, they take 2, leaving Moose to play it all alone. And why not? The man basically held the line by himself last time.
Still just spotting. Holding off. CPG obviously not wanting to peek into some sort of an op, but Junior is not here now. Very rarely has he been. Moose is going to call for some sort of a rotate, knowing that ZPG's ambitious. Oh my god, he's right on top of the smoke, and he goes down with nothing to his name. Penny sprays. And so far, it's the same outcome. ZPG now 5v2, and this could be enough unless Penny comes up massive by walking in through smoke and catching this post plant off guard. Infinite, he gets another kill. And this newcomer, who had one of the most beautiful clutches in overtime, falls to the wayside of the Pug Godz. They take their map pick in the end.
Man, we've just had another excellent game of CS. It may not have been technically the best, but my God, was it entertaining, Scrawny. But I sit here and I just feel so bad for Triumph, because they already had some confidence issues, clearly. You've just lost a bunch of map points on your opponent's choice. How do you justify that now going into Mirage?
It's a tough pill to swallow, but an exciting overtime, man. It's not often you get multiple 1v3s in one OT, and that's exactly what we had. So join our analysts after the break to unpack Inferno, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
It was almost all over for ZPG. They left it right down to the last second to secure their map pick in overtime, but they managed to make it work. 19-17 to the North American side, but Alex, I think it's safe to say we were not expecting this first map to be so close.
No, we were not. The way that Triumph played as a team was so impressive. Their macro decision making and the way that they were executing onto the bomb site, looking like a well-oiled machine. What Sheikh Zula has done in the last, I want to say 48 hours is actually so impressive.
Yeah, that's something that I really wanted to unpack here. We were kind of going into this thinking, you know, Triumph might take the win, but we saw in that pre-game interview from Juna saying that Sheikh Zula is going to be shaking some stuff up. In your opinion, Alex, what differences have you seen compared to the previous one that we've seen this team on? Because their first match, it was quite rough.
Yeah, so in the match against Chaos in the BO3, I think they had around 7, maybe 8 flash assists total. In this game, I know for a fact there were way more than that. So in just one map of play, they looked so much better as a team. The way that they were setting each other up, the way they were executing onto the bomb sites together, it wasn't like when they played Chaos, where Chaos, it felt like Chaos could beat them in a default or any kind of set play. It didn't really matter. It just looked like Triumph was just falling by the wayside. This time around, it looked like Triumph actually outlined some win conditions for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. We can take a look at the scoreboard. You were mentioning earlier, Junior, man, he was really, really stepping up on the side of Triumph. Christine, I couldn't believe some of the shots he was hitting. He was sitting close quarters with an orb. He was playing it perfectly.
He was, and it's those simple fundamentals. You know, we could tell that as Maui mentioned, they didn't have a lot of time to go over the nitty-gritty details, so they kept things simple, and that really enabled Junior to hold his ground, hold those angles, but really, it also enabled Penny to find so many entries, entry after entry, whether it was towards that B bomb site or towards that A. Penny was successful.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned Penny there, because obviously he is one of the newest additions to this roster, and it's nice to see them synergizing. I believe Connor was mentioning it. You know, they were actually working together quite well as a team, and it's a little bit heartbreaking to see them go away from this map with a loss. But we saw so many incredible moments. And Christine, you've picked out just one of them to break down. What is this one?
Yeah, we're going to go over to the T side and just highlight the Triumph simple execute that we're going to see towards this A bomb site. Now, this is a little bit into the round, so Triumph, they've already pushed back ZPG off this banana control. So right now, ZPG have no idea how many members are towards this B area or not. You'll see Penny applying that pressure towards this arch side. But take a look at the utility. The flashbangs have already pushed Cooper back. He's just now getting unblind. Dazzle has no idea how many members are coming. This buys space. Moose and Penny buying this real estate towards Arch. Slowly but surely, the chokehold is coming out onto this A bomb site, and with the Molotov and HE grenade to isolate out that angle, they pounce, they get those entries, and really, it's simple. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts, but it's really just run and gun and get those trades down. If we can go to the point of view of these players, you're going to kind of see how these frags come out. Cooper, he gets a nice angle. Remember, he just got unblind, so he's kind of discombobulated, trying to figure out where the enemies are exactly. And there was a slight pause coming out of Triumph to kind of regroup themselves. So really, I mean, with the short amount of time that Triumph had to be able to make that execute, pull it off so easily, it was impressive to watch.
Yeah, and this is something that we touched upon in the pre-game. Obviously, Triumph with their pre-match interview, it didn't look particularly confident going into it. Junior, you know, he was pretty down and out about the whole thing. Now going into map number 2, it's your map pick, but Alex, what do you think they're going to be doing? Do you think the confidence might be an issue for them?
I don't think it will be. They know that this was ZPG's map pick that just went to overtime, and they had a good shot at winning it. They know that if they started a little hotter, maybe some of their execs were just a little bit tighter, or perhaps during the defaults they didn't get caught off guard as much by players like Infinite, who was getting some crazy unassisted kills with the Deagle constantly, it felt like, then maybe things will shift their way. They just have to hope, and they have to know that those kinds of shots aren't always replicable. That being said, Junior needs to stay on point. Penny as well. They were hot in the last map. They got to continue it to map 2 if they want to stand a chance.
It has been a spicy series so far, and we'll be back with Mirage after this.